Okay, hi. I think I know everybody here, so I'm not going to introduce myself. You didn't come to hear me, but I would like to introduce Gail Levin and Roz Dimon. Gail is a distinguished professor of art history, American Studies, and Women's Studies at Baruch College and Graduate Center, City University of New York. She is an acknowledged authority on Edward Hopper. I would like to know more about that, actually. Has curated exhibits, written books, dear friend of Roz Dimon, of course, and Roz, as many of you know, is a trailblazer in digital art for corporate and fine arts circles. So today, I'm not going to read everything about Roz. She's going to tell you how she started.
You'll have more than you want.
Yeah, how she started, what led her to digital art, and what led her to work on a Haven's House Dynasty for us. So without further ado, as they say, Gail and Roz.
Thank you so much.
So good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Yes? Good. So I had the idea for recording this for history, and doing it here because the story of Roz Dimon and the way I know her is a Shelter Island story. So Roz, would you like to just tell your version of how we met and how I came to discover you on Shelter Island? Your role behind it?
Absolutely. It's an interesting story, and I'll be talking about digital art, but of course, art is always about connection, and this place has become a new home for me. And my home, well, first Atlanta, then New York, then here. But Gail showed up at the Artsy studio tour in, I guess, 2016 or 15, one of those, about that time. And I had two of her books already. And when she came to see my studio, I was very happy that she was there. And we just struck up a conversation. And then she said, "Oh, well, you have a Southern accent." And
not exactly. I said,
what?
I think you're from where I'm from.
Yeah.
And I know you don't hear it, probably in either one of us, but it's the little hints. And I said, yeah, you're from where I'm from. Where are you from? And she said, Atlanta, Georgia. And I said, me too. Where'd you go to high school? And you said,
Northside High School.
And I said, me too.
I mean, it was really uncanny. So it's given us a deeper bond because we know what it's like to be coming from the South and coming to New York. You know, it's not like, as Gail said earlier, it's not like you were born in the womb in Brooklyn here and then just, oh, I'm an artist. Very different, especially in the 70s and when 80s, it was not an easy road, actually. You know,
you're stealing my lines, Ron.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But it takes one to.
We're like high school classmates.
I'm actually 5 years ahead of her. Oh. So we didn't meet in high school because we weren't there at the same time.
Yeah, we never knew each other. No. So it's pretty interesting.
But I know her art teacher in our high school, Mr. Smith, and I was told if you want to go to college, you can't take art. Roz had more enlightened family, and she studied with Mr. Smith, but to make it from Mr. Smith's at Northside to New York, that is like jumping over major mountains, and it takes somebody who comes from there to understand that. And I want to say I also have a historical perspective. So I tip my hat to you, Roz. And let's get on with talking about your work, which has resulted in one of your, I think, key public artworks, which is part of the Shelter Island Historical Society. But let's talk about some of your background and how you came to make this piece.
Great. Before I get into Atlanta, I'm going to give you a little bit of background because it is historical about digital art and how did I get into digital art. I mean, I've told people this before, but I can barely operate a toaster. It's not like I have a techie type of outlook. But I wanted to start with this piece. This is a one scene of many within Haven's House. And I wanted to talk about this first, and we're going to be coming back to Haven's House in detail. But this dress, and Nanette, who's been so instrumental to, everything that goes on here, and certainly the Diamondscape being here, she remembers, we were talking the other day, she remembers we were taking pictures of all these artifacts to put into the diamondscape of Hayden's house, which is 7 generations of artifacts and stories. And I was looking through things, and as an artist, talking about connection and home, I saw this dress, and up to that point, it had been a very kind of male story, but I remember that Elizabeth Bowditch had 11 children, and I thought, this is the feminine road in this piece. And the piece went on from there.
Was there a time in Atlanta when you wore sort of Southern Belle dresses? Did you? Because you don't do that anymore.
Not me. Maybe, yeah, I was a little bit of a problem. No, not that my mother was really trying to raise a Southern Belle, but, it is really different in Atlanta, Georgia. Even here today, my friends, will say, could I please move the chair? Move the chair, Roz. Why are you saying please? I mean, there's something about being Southern that is really different. And I know that you know about this, but, dresses, I was always sort of the slacks person and always wanted to be in New York. But I'm just going back, we're going back to Atlanta, early days, just because I'm in digital now, but I was totally classically trained, studying in Italy, actually, with the University of Georgia, which was a pretty sophisticated school. But
Before you got to University of Georgia,
yeah.
Did you do time in Virginia?
In Virginia?
Yeah.
I went to a kind of like Randolph-Macon women's school, which I found was not the place for me.
Very, very deep south.
Oh yeah, and I wanted to pick up a chicken, and that wasn't allowed. And I thought, this is not where I want to do my art career. So it's like.
So you go from there to Athens at University of Georgia.
Yes.
Tell us what that was like.
Well, the university, it's the Lamar Dodd School of Art, and Lamar Dodd was a very prominent artist who made this school, and it's really on the map. I mean, other art schools know about the Lamar Dodd School of Art, but to me, it was like the Bulldog University. It was where I never was going to go, but I was kind of lost at the time after going 1 year to this. I appreciated my parents sending into this all-women's school, thinking I'd love it, but I didn't, and I was really searching. And it was once I went in the art class and my teacher saw me draw, and one of my teachers looked at my work and said, well, she can draw, but what is she saying? What is she saying?
So
that can make all the difference in the world of art, or anything that you do, whether you sing or have children, or, it's about being interesting.
So was there equal opportunity for women art students
no.
You made it sound like it.
I mean, I was in the school, but it was me and the boys in the 70s. This is like, I graduated in 75. And I was recognized, my talent was recognized by my teachers. But when I tried to, and I was definitely, doing really well in my painting classes, and was selected to go to Cortona, Italy, and with the group. And I did marry early it was kind of a very fast wedding. But the man who I got married to came back a couple of years later in the South, and he had an internship with the whole film department. He was Bill Vanderford, he's very well known in film. And I came back with him, and I applied to go to graduate school, and I was turned down, and I was like a star student. So I'm not someone who likes to get on the banjo and say, oh, the guys are bad. I mean, I love men, but I'm just saying that it's hard for men too. It's hard to be a human being. But as a woman, that door was shut for me. So I worked at Foss's Barbecue instead, which, believe me, was not an enlightening. It was kind of an enlightening experience. I feel like I relate to people. I mean, life is just like, you think you're up high, and then you're not necessarily there. But I always take experiences, and I paint about it. So.
Rob, where were you when you did the portraits with sound? Were you still in Georgia?
Let's go into that. We're moving along, so we definitely want to get into Hayden's house. This is an early portrait. Just technology was coming in from the minute I graduated from the Lamar Dodd. This is called Tilly the Teller, and she has a credit card in her mouth, and she's owned by a collector in Florida. But to Gail's point, when I look back, my first show in Atlanta, Georgia, after graduating from the Lamar Dodd School of Art, I had painted portraits of people. This is a portrait of my mother. It's a little low res. This is an old slide. But this is about 36 inches high, and I recorded when people were sitting for me. I recorded them, and so when you came into the gallery, I called the show Talking Heads. So when you came to the gallery, the paintings were talking to you, and it wasn't that you were talking to the paintings. It was a dialogue. It was a connection. And when I look back, I thought, wow, I think technology's kind of been there. I think I've been wanting paintings to speak off the wall to people from kind of the beginning.
So the Diamondscape here at the Shelter Island Historical Society has an audio,
Yes.
and that really began in Georgia with you
Yeah.
and the Talking Heads.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just people talking about, so my mother would talk about teenage children. You came into the gallery and they're all just talking about whatever they want to talk about. Well, I'd be mixing the paint and I'd say, be quiet, keep going. But I finally had to get to New York. So, I was busting out of Atlanta, and yes, I drove my Volkswagen up with my sister, and here I was. And, this scene of New York, I absolutely love New York from the very beginning, and it was very, very hard. But I love the energy. It's so much about it.
How did
It
you
was my first real home.
tell us how you supported yourself while you're becoming an artist in New York?
Oh yeah, I worked as a temp at Wordline & Co. in the old Pan Am building. I immediately got a job. I'm not only she was going to go out and be in the nightlife and be some like hip cool. I've never been really hip and cool. And I had enough steadiness so that so if you're going to do art, there's a price for it. So I wanted to do what I wanted to do. So I worked during the day.
Were there other artists in your family?
No, my grandmother's
But
both artists.
but what about your father's craftiness?
Oh, well, my father was a surgeon, and I think I got his hands, because I do have his hands for painting and drawing, and I can draw since I was born, and nobody ever believed this, but I was a shy kid.
You can put things,
Come out of the box.
Roz, you can put things back together. I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
My window shade, remember?
Oh,
The
yes.
threading?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That
You
was-
you have the hands of a surgeon
Oh.
without the medical training.
Oh, there you go. Well, there's a lot of dexterity in surgery, so I think I did get a lot. Yeah, I don't know how long that shade held up, though.
It's still up.
Oh,
It's
good.
still working.
There you go. Wonderful. I just want to show my first apartment in New York. This was a garden apartment. That's the garden. That's the garden. I had to get this off of, I always give credit everything in the Diamondscapes and everywhere. So yeah, it's a stock footage. But seriously, and I went, oh, I'll take it. $100 a week. And the boiler blew up like every other day, and it was pretty. But I'm still very happy.
You mean the rent for the apartment, not the stock photo?
Oh no, what did you already ask me?
The $100 was for the apartment.
Oh yeah, $100 a week from
Not the
Mr.
photo.
Wilson from Argentina. I was quickly getting into what New York life was like, and you know what? I really loved it. And plus, nobody ever said, you know what, on the streets in Atlanta, much less me. But when I heard it a few times, I was like, wow, I can just do and be whoever I want here. And nobody even cared. Nobody, you didn't stick out at all. But New York was first home. And I was influenced by people like Laurie Anderson, who's doing, if you don't know, she's done some beautiful, incredible multimedia shows, and she touches the heart. She's about emotions, and I think art's about emotions. I mean, it's tech, but I've always been about trying to connect with technology, make us closer. Namjoon Pike was doing incredible work. And this is, Gail knows about these information paintings. My paintings just started filling up with pixels and squares. So this is an oil on canvas, and it's called 8 Chemical Bank. And there was a place called Chemical Bank, but it folded. And I'm just painting how we all kind of feel at work, like, oh, let's get done, the fax, the phone, everything. So I'm trying to paint that connection, but my brushes were really getting tight. And I did hundreds of these paintings. This is called June and December. And it does have a lot to do with my digital evolution, because it's not like I went into digital, wanting to be anybody cool.
Rosa, how did you get work at the Wall Street Journal if you didn't train in graphic
I
design?
did go to the School of Visual Arts. Very first, I took the first course at the School of Visual Arts in digital media, because it was starting to show a little bit in New York somewhat, and things were moving along, but my paintings were just getting so tight. And I finally said, look, I gotta get another brush. And it's kind of clunky. I mean, I love the way that an oil paint brush works. Love it. And you go to this clunky thing, but look what you can make out of it. Check out this portrait. Do you know this man? James Dawson. Very much my other half in so many ways.
It's so embarrassing to see myself in 8 colors.
4 colors on an IBM. Yeah, I mean, you have to remember, especially young people, when I speak to them, I've spoken to Gail's class a few times. She said, look, I know I can ask a question, you'll just keep going. I mean, I can't, yes, the shy child that talks about everything now, but interrupt me if you want.
I just want to mention that James Dawson is a Shelter Island performance artist star.
Oh, yes, he is, absolutely. And he's gonna be in the musical this summer. It all happens here. This is my second home. I love it. Anyway, this is 4 colors on an ID, and there's no internet. We're just working on this thing that somehow the brush, I would be painting with this elementary mouse and stuff, and I thought, oh, look at the edgy marks I can get, and the squares and circles, and there was math in the brush, and I love that. I'm gonna show a few of these, and then we'll get into the diamond scapes, which are the interactive pieces, but I did a piece, Al Gore, running down the information highway. I was commissioned to do this. He signed 3 of these, and it's all about the information highway. Here's our darling James. I kind of edited these for the audience, but he is here as the odalisque, if you know it in art history. You know, it's always the women lying down, and it's the male view that John Berger, as you know, has written all about. And I placed James with the cat, and I call it, you know, the woman springing on the bacon. Not that he hasn't brought home a lot of bacon too, but I was definitely the Wall Street Journal. I was starting to work in corporate, and I was making a lot of money, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I called my parents and said, "Oh, I've just been hired by the Wall Street Journal with a $20,000 signing bonus in 1998." And so that's I was like, wow. And I was doing really exciting things, and there was so much exciting going on in New York in digital.
So what happens on 9/11?
We're getting there. I'm going right to it here. I always seem to work at the World Trade Center somehow, and I found working in corporate with people so exciting. Like, I love learning about fonts and exactitude, and then going home and painting, you know, these crazy wild pieces. But it was a high time. Things were going really well, and I'm getting to Gail's point, but I just want to show, I worked at Deloitte, Wall Street Journal, American Express. They were always there, and we lived within 15 blocks. This is our office at the Wall Street Journal a week after 9/11. And the dot-com, if people remember who are old enough, it was a big time in digital, and it fell the same year, a little bit before, which the Wall Street Journal was right on top of. So the most creative position in the firm, I was laid off along with a lot of people in the digital dot-com. And my mother called on 9/11 and said, you know, there's sometimes a glimmer in sadness, but I was really just so bereft. And she called and said, thank God you were let go. You would have been in that building, and I would have, you know? So, I mean, we had our lives, but James and I lost a lot at that time. And for all of us who've lost things, I'm getting into this because the Diamondscapes came out of my most inventive thing came after my darkest time when I thought I couldn't do anything.
Let's not lose how you got to Shelter Island after 9/11.
Yes. Oh, yeah. My mother called me. I was in Shelter Island. We were doing well, and we bought another house, and I feel so lucky that we could do that. But I was here. I got taken care of here immediately. I mean, everybody just embraced me. I have so many friends here. And the late Janet Culbertson as well was a very close friend for many years, and knowing her, and just Barry and so many here I'm looking at. But it was, they took me in, and I was kind of common. I was not in a good way. Suzanne Lavarello.
Did you already have a studio here?
No, my husband actually built that studio
After
for me.
9/11.
After 9/11, he built the whole thing. Really amazing creative person.
So Shelter Island becomes your main home at that point.
Oh yeah, and that wasn't the idea,
Yeah.
you know, but it did.
And you invent on Shelter Island then the idea of the Diamondscape?
Yeah, the Diamondscapes, which are the interactive paintings, which we are building to, but there's always a story, you know, behind things, and we're making that story. I appreciate these questions. What was the question? Where am I? Yeah.
How you came to invent the Diamondscape post 9/11 on Shelter Island?
Oh yes, my first Diamondscapes were made here in my studio. I mean, it's so amazing. I never really realized where this pixelated paintings would turn into this internet that has just overwhelmed us all. I mean, it drives me crazy too. It's not like I love technology, but you know what? It did connect me with other people and in these woods. And my first piece, should we talk about iconography at all, or go back?
Yeah, I think we should talk about,
Pale mail?
yes,
Okay.
and how that relates to Shelter Island and 9/11.
Yeah, okay. This is a piece, after taking some iconography courses, I have to just mention icons really quick, because the whole perspective in a Diamondscape, a digital work of art, the kind I'm doing now, where I'm inviting people into the painting, an actual Byzantine icon was described as an artwork that was comfort to a nation besieged. I was like, wow. And I hadn't been doing any art for a while. I really was in a dark place, even though I was out here feeling comfort. And so I took a few iconography courses in these prayers, and I did these pieces, and there's like layers and layers of thin washes.
Did you travel to take these
Yeah,
courses?
New Mexico, St. John's University, and I'm with other people, and it's I was the only professional artist in the class, but you're like doing a week-long prayer. And it was very, very not about your own expression. It was really about copying and reference. This icon that means every single layer meant something. And the perspective is not like three-point perspective since the Renaissance. You know, when you look at a realistic painting, it's not abstract. The vanishing point is in the middle at the end, and you're here, and that's how you paint. Well, with an icon, the icon comes to you, and it talks to you. And that, I mean, it just blew my mind. I all of a sudden said, I know what I need to do. And I came back to Shelter Island, and I took all of my things that I knew about computer layering and the web, and I started this piece about this bird, crazy bird in New York, pale male, some of you may have heard of, who made his home in a New York City balcony window, you know, from nature. And I've done the opposite. I just lost my urban home completely, and so many people have. Really, a lot of the downtown creative sector just got blown to pieces. And I was out here, and it's the first piece I've ever done with an animal, really, in nature. And here, these are the layers on my computer. These are the choices I have with brushes, and I have many more. I mean, it's just unbelievable what you can do.
Roz, does your spirituality inform this piece? And
oh yeah.
Could you talk just a little bit about your background and studying things beyond just mundane everyday life?
Yeah, I've always been a spiritual seeker. I was raised Episcopalian, and some of my closest friends know I'm an interfaith minister. Because for me, the bowl just isn't, it's just not big enough, you know, to just, it is big enough, I think, to come from whatever source you are, but I wanted to know how the other religions and indigenous and Buddhism and everything, how they all had ties together. I always like crossing boundaries. But this piece does have Jesus figured in it, and I was thrilled that Gail, who is an art historian and Jewish, we sometimes compare growing up in Georgia, the differences.
Yes.
There are quite a few.
Yes.
And she invited me to go with her to Japan, where we spoke about this piece, which is all about finding home when all is lost, which, speaking to you, this being my second home that I love and embrace, this piece is all about finding home and leads into Haven's House as a piece that came later. But this piece is now in the 9/11 Memorial Collection. I recently spoke to them, and I was invited to speak to their staff, and I think we have someone here who's supposed to be here from the 9/11. Are you here, Edward? Oh, maybe he's coming. But he's head of the whole grounds of the memorial, and I met him recently, and the curators, and he was coming to this. He'll probably get here. Real quickly, before I get really detailed into the Haven's House, Pale Mail, it's an addition. When you do a piece, you can do an addition, and I'm working in a computer and going out to physicality. So a second edition of Pale Mail is in Sag Harbor, bought by these two collectors, E.T. and Lynn Williams, where they purchased this piece and made it permanent for this church, along with another piece, and these are some pictures of us signing the contract. And here are the two pieces next to a huge
John LaFarge.
No, it's
No,
not
Tiffany.
It's a Tiffany stained glass window of Jesus studying with the rabbis, which kind of makes me happy that it's got the Jewish, the Christian, the everything, because that's what I'm all about. So just another piece that also was out here, if you've ever been to the Children's Museum, this happened after Haven's House. I got a huge opportunity here after doing Haven's House. People heard about it, and other people, asked, said, I got an opportunity at the Children's Museum to do this piece.
I think the Children's Museum piece was in response to the pandemic, and people.
Yes, it's called, yes.
And so I'm just thinking that the 9/11 piece,
Yes, in response to a terrorist attack.
that you came up twice with response to sort of
Yeah,
catastrophic events.
right.
Although the Shelter Island piece is more peaceful.
It is, oh, much more, yeah, definitely coming out of a different place. But in this case, I took children's pictures and put them all together. We're in a land, a new visual landscape I feel that is images of images of images that make an image. And that's exciting to me, that thought. So this is, people who don't know my art at all have seen this piece and go, wow, your work's kind of primitive, you know? And I go, well, actually, I'm working with 7-year-olds, and they were adorable, and we did everything online. I was supposed to work with them and make this piece offline, and then COVID happened, and we had to do it online, and they're just so, these kids are, oh, they broke my heart. They were wonderful and great,
And
very interesting.
the opening night included giant projections at the Children's Museum.
Yes, the Hamptons.
It was quite spectacular.
Thank you, and you came, that was so nice. Gail and John, who's right here too, live right down the street, and they did come to the opening, and all the Latino families were there. They were so proud of their kids, and it was the Hampton Theater.
So in a way, all three of these diamondscapes have this enormous tie to their communities.
Yeah, that's true. This is another piece at St. Bart's in New York. It's permanent, and it's called Nail This, and it has peace, love, and justice, and it's a mandala of Jesus going out in all directions. And it also has it has Buddhas in there. Where's my little, James said, yeah, don't poke Gail in the eye with your laser. There you go. There, see Buddha? And there are other things there's a see, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on in this piece. But I think, yes, shall we get into Haven's house?
Yes, let's.
Okay.
How did you come up with what you were going to use? How did you organize it? And what did those items you selected mean to you as a Shelter Island resident?
Oh, it's amazing. It's like digging into the very soil of this place. Nanette and I met in the backyard at one point, and Phyllis, and well, Phyllis is you're in this very prominently, and Nanette too, really. But Nanette had the imagination and really was very instrumental, along with the trustees of this place, in saying, oh, we don't quite know what this work of art is, but we did a 12-page contract and hammered things out, and it's a very, I mean, these kind of pieces are, you know, there are hundreds of layers, and there's a whole 5-layered design developed, deployed. Working in corporate has helped me with the larger art projects, because I really think very much like, oh, if it doesn't work out at this stage, then we got to back up and make sure we're all, you know, working with other people. And I have a small team too, but she met with me, and they had all these artifacts. They were building a new Shelter Island historical site in here, and Nanette, who has a background in art, very, very creative background, said, this really sounds like an exciting way for us to tell the story of the Havens, 7 generations from 1743, who this house was the Havens house, all the way up to today. And she said, couldn't we do a diamondscape of this? And that's really how that happened. And I was just thrilled. I went, yes. And, you know, you can do a diamondscape. I call it a diamondscape because what the heck are you going to call it? You know, people go, Roz, you're talking about your name. I go, yes, I am. And after 30 years of being in digital art and media, this is a bold move. And
Roz,
I own
explain
it.
what it is.
Not that other people are doing storytelling.
Roz, it's not a video.
No, it's not a video. This is a painting made of layers and layers and layers, sort of like an icon. I only showed it a minute, but you're doing these washes and washes and washes and washes. And sometimes people go online and see the kind of the slideshow methodology of, they go through a diamond-scope, they think it's a video. But the idea is that you're in front of the piece. It's in the other room. We couldn't quite arrange to take it out of the wall and put it over here. But you're looking at a painting, and Picasso once said, I'd love to lift up my paintings and let everybody come inside the layers. Well, I work in a medium where we can. And I want other people to do it too. So I think, and I know that young people are doing storytelling in all different ways. And I still look at paintings and, you know, like an Edward Hopper or, you know, a Gene Shatkin or whatever, you know, Kate Cunningham. You can look at that painting and you're not just, look, you know, it's like Walter Liepman, who was a curator at the Met, and I'm very excited about the diamondscapes. He had pale nail in his office for 10 years. He said, you know, Rembrandt, you know, was full of technology and stuff, but it's still about a painting that makes you go, You know, when you go, what's going on?
But Roz,
Yeah.
you're also filling the role of narrator.
Yes.
Here you're telling a story,
Right.
and you have audio, not just visual, right?
Right. So what you see before you, I'm sorry, I get up on tangents, and so I got to be reined back. But this is a document that's 300 years old, and you look at this beautiful script, and they take such care of their stuff here. I mean, it's in beautiful condition, but I would like hold this thing and go, oh well, Nanette, and Phyllis, we gotta scan this carefully, and they say, Ross, you're checking it out. You only get it for like what 15 minutes or something, you know. And so these are really amazing documents to have. Here's Phyllis and Nanette going through pieces, discerning, and yes, I'm building the narrative. I'm thinking in my head, we're going from this period to that, and so I took pictures of everything they had. I mean, I brought my camera and said, well, we might use this. There is a wheel in it. The shovel is in the piece. Not everything.
Did you grow up with any storytelling tradition in your family?
Well, my mother read to us, like,
And
awful things like Brer Rabbit. But,
oh,
yeah.
but did your grandparents?
She read great things.
Did your grandparents tell you stories at all?
What?
Do you have grandparents that tell you stories?
I think everything's stories. I think, and my family's very. You've met some of my family. We're storytellers.
Yeah.
You know, we talk. And you can see that I'm going to talk a lot. So you just interrupt me and say, go.
You told me you were once shy, Ross.
Yes, yeah, I actually was. I would hide behind my mother, and people would come, and I just, I didn't know who I was. But when you find out who you are, that's the key to shyness. You're not really scared. You just don't know who you are yet. And then mother said, you came out of the box, and we can't put you back in. And it's been an exciting journey, but it's been ups and downs. And these are other pictures here. I just want to show you in the Diamond Scape. We do have some lima beans, because you may not know this, but we were the lima bean capital of the world for a while. I learned all sorts of things about Shelter Island, this home I'm in. It was really fascinating to learn these things. And there are all these are just pictures of me scanning. And the narrative you're talking about, we're getting to audio, but I took all these pieces in my studio, and before I even start on the computer, I put a first generation, second generation, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh of the Havens. And then all these things that I'd taken pictures of and notes and my thoughts, I tore them up and put them in the kind of spiritual, emotional middle of the piece, And then down the left, I had like ideas like what was going on in history, what war, things like that. It's like a big mathematical puzzle on the wall.
Ross, you talk about storyboards.
Yeah.
To what extent do you think a Diamondscape is sort of quasi-cinematic?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's I've sometimes said it's like a cover of a book that you go inside. I mean, I can't wait to see what people are going to do with this concept, because it's out there now, and you just see images of images of images that make an image. People who sold this $138 million thing, it was images of every day that make this incredible image. I mean, they're not quite as good as mine, but no, I'm just saying. But okay, so and if someone wants to ask a question, I mean, the storyboard it's here on the wall. And I'm in my studio putting up things, moving things around. It's very malleable. And then I take it and I go inside the computer. And I'm working with, I meant to bring my little Wacom pen, but a lot of you probably have seen it now. Your children they're born with an iPad in the womb now, so it's like, these are my peeps, but I use this pen, and it feels my emotion and touch, and I just love that. And I'm also sculpting with photography, words, and in the background, I'm working with my audio person, Peter Grossman, who I've worked with since the World Trade Center. Wonderful guy, and we work via Zoom. He lives in Westchester, and I go, Peter, I'm thinking that the first thing should be about the fact that the moon rose millions of years ago, just like it does today here on Shelter Island, and he would record it, and then I would work with my coder, and I take all these multiple layers. I'm running out drawing all these. Those are some of the brushes I can use. This is Peter. We're on Zoom, and we talk a lot and work together, and he tries a recording and plays it, and I listen and go, yeah, that's good. And what happens is we take all the layers from Photoshop that I'm working on, and I use a coder who's 23 years old. I have to remind him sometimes. He goes, Ross, I wasn't born at 9/11. Oh. Right. So, and he's brilliant, and I did the first coding in '98. I had one of the first websites, so I know code, but I don't know it like the way he can do it at this point. But I'm directing the process, and I work with him and Peter, and we make a coded website that blends the sound and my layers together in a evolving story that you can go inside.
That term code reminds me of an early exhibition you organized.
Oh yeah, I did. I curated a show in Manhattan for Rico Maresca Gallery in '95, and Laurie Anderson came and immersed with Lou Reed, and it was a big deal. My parents were there. There were 300 people around the block.
So that
My
was,
parents said, "What? Has there been an accident?" No, it's my show. You know?
it was a moment for you making sort of your pioneering role in tech and technological
It was
art.
big because I was reaching
public.
out to the other people in that community. Thank you very much. And trying to make it so we had a jungle gym thing made by this friend of mine who was an architect, just graduated from Harvard, who I'd known, and he did the Sony Play World. And I said, Michael, I want everybody to be able to get into this piece. I always want to touch people with technology, not just make it like, what do we do? Because it scares me to death too, really, used to. And we had this jungle gym laced together, and so kids could get down and play with different art at this level, and someone who was taller would be at this level, and it was an exciting show, and everybody went broke and almost killed each other, and that's what happens when you are doing things ahead of time, because the money, we were like, well, Softy Maj just gave us one of their big Cray computers, and and the two partners in the gallery, being all I know is the air conditioning, it blew out the power, and behind the scenes all looks like everything's going great. But we know how these things are. It's like, we have a party for kids or whatever you're doing. It looks easy, childbirth, whatever. Same thing in art and artwork. I mean, getting it out and having it go to the public, is always difficult. I just want to show a few elements because we're going to go through the diamondscape here, but here's an element that comes forward to you. I use different transparencies, like 100%, 90%, 80. Well, that's not 100's not, it's all. But I'm taking things and lifting them up to you as you go through the story, like these children's toys from the 1800s. Here they are in the piece. I'm just showing you the process in my studio. These pieces take over my lives. As Annette pointed out to me, she said, "Are you going to say, you worked on this for at least a year?" These are big commissions. It's like taking a history and really sort of memorializing it for all time in this digital space and also in a physical piece. I had to put in my two sisters who were playing pickleball today. This is the diamondscape, and they're sitting in front of it. And when we had the opening here in 2019, this is how you can another way to interact with it. It just has a QR code in a plaque. You're looking, it's still a painting that sits still, but you take your phone or whatever you have, your iPad, you click on the QR code, and you go inside the painting while you're looking at it. I think I said that about Picasso, lifting up the layers. And so this just shows, I'm going to show you this young girl interacting. Yeah. What are you looking for? Oh, yeah, the document. Exactly. Oh, yes, exactly. Yeah, you can. That's true. Right? Oh, there's another flag on the other side. That was really hard to find. Yeah, British flag. It's easier to find the American flag, I think. I was looking for the one where it's yeah. Oh, the wheel, yeah, definitely. You can kind of see the wheel up there. But see, she's seeing it 100%. It's coming up to her with a story and a narrative.
Roz, what's the difference between having a diamondscape in a public place like Shelter Island Historic Society and selling even a diamondscape to a private collector who has it at home? What does it mean to you to be accessible to children you don't know, and adults for that matter, in a public space?
I love it. I love it because it's connection. It's all about connection. And it's out there and it's not really your baby anymore. It's out there, and I love to hear what's working, what isn't working. With tech, you're always kind of rolling up and trying to keep things so they're easier and easier. The next thing I want to do is you can press right on the interactive screen and go inside. But I also, because I'm a painter, I'm sort of an old fogey in new clothes. I still like to have a painting that it's still a painting. To me, it's still a still image. So I think I'm gonna just take us through this diamondscape right now. Okay, so you're standing in front of the painting, and so unfortunately we can't mimic how I'd like you to be seeing this, but if you're standing in front of that piece I just showed you, and you click the play button,
Peel back the multiple
about 3
layers of
minutes,
this unique
and then we'll be
work of art
almost
called a diamond
done
scape.
here.
An
Which I've
experience
enjoyed
review
talking with
the
you.
history in 3 minutes. Interact with each layer at your own pace. The moon rose then, just as it does today. It is 1743 when William Havens builds a home on Shelter Island and stakes his claim in the bedrock of that time. Tools like this shovel can still be seen in the Historical Society's collection. Original grips from that century reveal a dog's paw print. This is the original floor plan from the 1700s, with stairs leading to a salt box styled roof. It's where the legacy of Havens House begins. Leaves fell then, just as they do today. James Havens takes over in 1761, marries Elizabeth Bowditch, and together raise 11 children. Their home becomes a school, opening its doors to many. Eventually, the residence serves as a tavern and a store. They barter with neighbors, including the Manhattan Indians. When the Revolutionary War ensues, Captain Havens enlists. Bold and patriotic to the core, Shelter Island leaders sign their own Declaration of Independence. Havens House becomes a community that James and Elizabeth warmly name Heart's Ease. Their son, Henry Havens, with his knack for business, keeps the wagon wheels moving forward. Heart's Ease soon becomes a destination, opening its doors to many beyond family. Later, Henry's son, Asher, expands the business and uses the home as a summer residence. As the 1860s approach, the country is being torn apart by the Civil War. Firearms were not only weapons of war, but everyday tools used for hunting food and protection. After Asher Havens dies in 1884, Henry Havens II and his family continued to run the homestead. With the dawn of the industrial age, tools such as the sewing machine produced beautiful dresses like this one in the Havens House collection. Playtime for children and other games of leisure become household activities. Mildred Havens Smythe is the last Haven to be born in the house in 1911. Hard times ensue, and Havens House changes hands, becoming the Wayside Inn, later losing its 2 prominent pines to a hurricane. In 1925, the lodging house is purchased by Alice and Frank Sherman, who make it their home for 30 years. During the Depression, music, books, and games provide comfort. Alice often puffed away to victory on Pall Malls while playing canasta with Frank. Grandson Hoot Sherman shared that neighbors helped one another raising sheep and farming the land. For a brief
See the
period,
lima beans?
island
There they
became
are.
the country's lima bean capital. Alice Sherman is reluctant to sell Havens House until the Shelter Island Historical Society purchases it in 1966, promising to let her live there for the rest of her life. In 1986, Havens House is placed on the state and national registers of historic places. As the sun comes up every day and the tulip tree blooms each spring, the history of Havens House lives on. May it provide you Heartsease. This work is
Uh-oh. I shouldn't have done anything. Hold on.
dedicated to Phyllis Wallace,
Sorry. I
Shelter
can't
Island Historical Society advocate and volunteer for over 50 years.
Who is with us here today? Phyllis Wallace.
Can you scroll back and
Permanently installed
Yeah.
at the Havens House Museum at the Shelter Island History Center.
Now,
Peel back the multiple
oh,
layers
it's going to
of
start
this
over
unique
here.
work
I just
of
want to
art
show you a
called
little about
Diamond Scape.
what you can do here.
And Rosie, you can show how you can do the narrative without the audio?
Yes, you can be in this and you can,
And stakes
he's
his
playing
claim
it and you can
in
go
the
over
bedrock
here
of
and
that
turn off
time.
the sound and just go through the images. But this is coded such that you can just go in and out of the painting and go back to whatever you want to and look at it. And everybody, it's a website really. It's a coded website, and then everything is referenced. And my database is getting more and more. I'm working on another Diamond right now, and the database is really getting extensive. And it's like a painting that leads you into an education. I mean, there's just so many things that you could do with this particular methodology of storytelling. It's really endless. But to me, it's very important to source everybody and whoever's part of it. That way, it's sort of like the early days of the Gutenberg press of imagery is sometimes what I call it, because we're in these days that, you know, once you source people, people become part of the larger bouquet. Like to get the Revolutionary War, you know, who fought in the Revolutionary War, I called up, you know, the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston and said, oh, I see you have this painting. This is a piece we're doing for, you know, the Shelter on Historical. And so I have them listed here, and they said, oh, we think it sounds exciting. I list them so you can find out everything about everything in the piece. And I'm just going back to the PowerPoint right now because this is the final piece. But if you want to with your phone, or you can get a card from me, you can go home and look at this on your own. At some point, please come to I think today, I don't know how long it's staying open, but the piece is in the next room. But you can actually go in and see the piece briefly if you want to, or come back at some point. But you can also experience it at home. But the whole idea of these is to be in front of the painting. And that's really the key to it. But this QR code now is on every vegetable. You know, I started using these in 2009. I'm like, oh, they're not so hippie, but you know, they work great. They are a connector. Oh, well. And before I leave, do I tell them what's just briefly on the horizon, or do you want to ask me another question?
Oh, do you want to just mention the topic of your forthcoming Diamondscape?
Yeah, Gail knows about this piece, but I'm not going to say much about it. But this piece it's a family. It's based on a family tragedy. It's
in Georgia.
In Georgia, my cousin's son was killed by gunfire right around the time I was doing these drawings, digital drawings of guns, which Gail actually wrote the intro to the catalog for, which is wonderful. By the way, I don't own a gun, but guns are fascinating. But I haven't done one since. But this Diamondscape is launching soon, and it deals with neural averse people, disabilities, which are not being addressed much in our society. Guns, the use of gun violence with police, and it's not anti-police, it's a 360 view. I mean, there's wrongs and rights all around this story in this evening, 3 hours, what happened. And I'm trying to, and artwork can sometimes be a way to explore, and the database has all the live recordings, and the audio is from that evening. My deceased cousin once removed, his father is like one of the top technology people in the Atlanta school system, and he was able to get hold of like all of the audio and everything. His son died.
He has this.
It's been
he commissioned the piece from me.
He commissioned the piece, yes. And I'm writing a memoir called Going Digital, and I just want to thank all of you. I hope I get talking. You know, it's been exciting to be in this field, and I get talking, and so I love how actually Gail came up with the whole concept of home. This place, I really love this place, and I love all of you for being here with me today. And thank you. Yes, any questions? Sure.
My question is, when you're standing, you can access with the QR code on your phone or on an iPad. How do you see it on the screen itself in the Historical Society? Can you access it? Can you flip through it on screen?
Not on screen. It stays as a still image. And you know what it is? You worked that. Thank you so much, Kate. Coming in, we started taxing the arts community of Shelter Island and a few other artists who are here. I'm glad you're here. You're working. It's flipping the whole art world upside down, because you're working inside, and I know you work digitally too. You're working inside the computer, and then you're going out to whatever physicality. It's so sophisticated now that I can work with a client and go, do you want this to be 6 feet wide on top of your mantle? And you know, depending on the money, would you like this made in Carrara marble? I would love for someone to do the money to make pale mail in like tile, permanent tile. I could work with them and we could do it. But it's like you take the idea and the process and the methodology and you go out to physicality. It's, this piece particularly, it goes out to a chrome, a photo chrome, a large one. And then I get a light box with LED. It's pretty simple, you know, and it just it stays on forever. And then right beside it is a plaque with a QR code. So that's how you go in it. But I kind of like it that if the electricity's off, or you know, you can't, well, it's hard to see the piece if the electricity's off with the light box, but if the internet is down, you can still just look at the painting. You can find all those things in there. They're all, you know, and the kids love it. I mean, we had a scavenger hunt here, you know, that we hid things around and they had to go find them, you know, get the shovel. Where's that wheel? Oh, you see that woman's dress upstairs? I mean, you know, the kids just, they get it. You know, they totally get it. So, anyways, anybody have any questions? Or Nanette, you want to say anything? I want to thank Nanette so much for having us. And for having Gail here. It's wonderful to have Gail here.
Well, we thank you for being here. Are there any other questions for Gail or Roz?
Yeah,
Bernadette.
it's about your focus on layers. You talk about layers and layers.
Yeah.
And one thing that struck me at the early part of your talk, you were showing, it was long before you were into coding and all this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a picture of chemical bank or something.
Chemical bank, yeah.
And I noted in one or two, you have, in my own, talk, I call that not layers. Yeah, I thought layers a bit with straighter. So that,
Separators, yeah.
so that before you got into the whole process of digitalization, you had that projection already in your painting, just a painting with
Yeah.
your brush.
Right.
You had layers, but they were static. They were more like bands.
Yeah, right. Montage.
One,
Right.
two,
Yes,
three,
exactly.
different colors.
Yeah.
And that struck me as a sort of theme. And so my question is, are you aware or do you have any suggestion as to how you came, you already had in you that sense that you had to work through straighter and bands and I think stratification. And then it became, for me, superposition. You know what I mean? You superpose, of course, layers is a form of superposition. How did you, are you aware of something that was transforming into you, to transform a project you already have inside of you, and the technology provided you?
Like what influenced me to make that switch?
Yeah, what, are you aware of something that happens to, are you aware, for instance, that you were realizing something that was already formed? No.
I don't really think it was an adventure. I don't think I knew what was really, I was responding to the world. I'd love to go to museums, but when people ask me about my work, honestly, life is my informer. You know, the Impressionists, they went out, they painted the sun and the light and the dapples and I mean, you know, it's not all about, oh, and I studied with this. And I mean, a lot of people have been influential. I love looking at art. But I think I was feeling the pixels and the technology and the faxes and the phones and the TVs and the space in between us. I was trying to paint the space in between us. And so, and then digital was happening, and someone said, Ross, you're not using a paintbrush, you're using a mathematical, you know, you thought about taking computer art. It was just starting. So that's, I mean, it's all been, I tell young people, if you hear an interruption, you know, something's interrupting, take a good look at it, you know, because I kind of went with it, but it's only now when I'm older that I look back, I can kind of, you know, tie the things together a little bit better. But I know I don't even know what time it is, but
I would answer.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was very touching. Yeah, sure. Question? Somebody? Oh, June? Yeah.
While you were talking, I was thinking of the events at Mama. Within the year, there's this giant screen of
Rafik Anadol.
I don't remember the art.
Yeah.
So I'm just reminded of, well, it's different because it is so mindful and purposeful everywhere that you create. But I was just so transfixed by that, the way, I don't know if everyone else saw he had loaded every image from every piece of art from MoMA through their history and turned on some sort of program, and it just sort of evolved. I was just thinking that. What do you think of AI?
AI, it's funny, I am kind of, I think I'm getting to where, we all get older and I go, hey, take it off. I mean, I've done a few NFTs. I find it fascinating. And I think for Peak and Adults, she's talking about, he has a big immersive piece in MoMA and all over the world. And he takes it's more like using coding as an art, and coding is an art. But I think my whole thing has been more about a painter using a brush that has changed within a century of time radically, and the brush is loading with photos. I'm coming at it from a different place, and his kind of envelops, and you can't stop it and go in and find the images. Mine is more about having a painting with all those images that you can then, the story is in it. But I think he's fascinating, these immersive environments where you're, inside Van Gogh or all these. I mean, I think people are loving them, but they're kind of more like video. You see it and it's gone. And a painting, like It Was Falling from the Sky by Bruegel, you could just sit that on your wall and look at it forever and go, oh, there's something else in it, and there's something else in it. It sits with you. And in some ways, the Dynascapes slow us down. I mean, it's not necessarily speeding up, but when you see an adult, you go and then you leave and it's gone. So it's an experience, and this is an experience, but it sits with you. You can make a poster of this, or you can have it on your wall. Someone else, Ellen. Hi.
Quick question, just as far as the mechanics of shooting these photos, do you have to shoot in RAW, or can you shoot JPEG, or does it matter?
I think that is a great question, but I have never even used RAW, but these are things that, something I would get more into. I find that since that using an iPhone at 300 pixels per inch, when you bring it in, they're usually pretty large and they don't take over the whole canvas that I'm using. So I haven't delved in that far, but if I got into a little bit more of a macro kind of piece, like a fly on a dog's nose, I mean, you could do a Dynascape about anything. It could be about blowing a bubble, if you could go into science and everything. And it might be that RAW, I know RAW has, we might have photographers here, but I think that it contains everything in the picture.
It has more depth.
Yeah.
In this sense.
It's a great question. I would think, I go for excellence, but for me, I always love those raw pixels. And these kids are all now doing these things online, these crazy NFTs of pixelated. I always love those pixels, so I don't care.
Do you use your phone, or?
I work on my computer. I mean, this piece would explode in your phone because of the amount of, it's like a 3 gigabyte. I got a little note one. Yeah. It's too many layers, and I am doing some work on my iPad, but.
What about actually, in other words, like this, creating the individual images, right? Do you use a camera, or do you use your phone?
Well, I draw and everything. I also have a lot of drawings that I've just done digitally, and you zoom in and out. Canvas is across the hall, and you go back and forth to it, and in the computer, I'm zooming in and out of the space. And I get so excited when I find the physical piece that's been printed.
How do you get from the inside of the camera to the computer? That's sort of like the question.
Oh yeah. Well, now there are ways that they make that's so easy. You can download it, and there are Dropbox. There are all these ways that you can get bigger images now, even on your phone if you have a big video. You can.
But in the olden days, you had to take a picture of the monitor.
Oh, and James knows all about this. And I used to take a picture of the monitor of the computer. There's no internet. I mean, kids can't quite fathom this,
There was
yeah.
no way to get the image from the monitor to the photo lab.
Yeah, I used to take a photo and take it to Gal, and we blow it up, and I go, oh, look at the pixels. I love them. I love pixels. To me, they were like everything I've been painting in those information paintings forever. So it's been a lot about the medium of the paintbrush itself and what's possible.
Well, Roz and
Yes.
Gail, I want to thank you very much for being here. And now it's time for my little sales pitch. So, at the Children Historical Society, we have a lot of stories to tell, history, it's about stories. So being fortunate enough to have the Diamond-scape of the Hayden's family and Hayden's house in a permanent collection is really very precious to us. And it took a great deal of time, effort, back and forth, like, does this belong in it? Does it not belong in it? You know, we got sidetracked into the history shelter around, well, God knows how long that would go on. I mean, forever.
You do have to make parameters, yeah, you
We
do.
had to really pay attention to it. We have so much to share with all of you in terms of documents, furnishings, artwork, clothing, textiles. We want to share this with you. And all of you in this room, I'm looking around, you all support us. And I thank you for that. Please keep doing that. We have Lisa show, I know I'm going to embarrass you, I always do. Lisa's working on this year's musical, which is about the fairies, a deck of fairy tales. It'll be fabulous. Nora's in it, James is in it. Who else is here that's in it? Oh, it seems like everybody's in it. It's just fantastic. But we really need your help to continue. We'd love to be able to just do things no charge. We have farmers market every Saturday, Memorial Day through possibly Columbus Day this year. We don't charge for that. So that's our gift to the community. And all we ask in return, remember us when you're thinking about a donation. And, you know, anything is really welcome for us to succeed. So I thank you all for coming. I thank Gail. I thank Ross.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.